Hello, guys. This is Alejandra, and this is a short video where we're going to be talking about issues that you have to be aware of to work on assignment 2. In assignment 2, we're going to work with several artboards within one file. And for some of you, this might sound a little bit like, what is this? Try to imagine that you have a file and you have several different papers or several different canvases. Why would we put several images within one file? Well, this is very normal in the professional world because maybe you're designing an interface and we need to say how the interface is going to look, when it's in landscape mode and when it's in a vertical mode. Or maybe you want to see the interface in a bigger size for a computer or an iPad and in a different format for a phone. Or you're showing a client, you're sending a client a logo design. But when you're working on logo design, you have variations. So you have several different artboards, and on each one of them, you have a variation of that image. We're going to do something like that in assignment 4. So it's very normal to have one file that contains several artboards. Now, there is a panel called the Artboard panel that I see that I have right now closed. So I'm going to try to open. I go to Window and I look for Artboards that is here and I click on it. And here appears the Artboard panel. We also know about the Layers panel, that when you go to a Window, Workspace, Reset, Essentials, Classic, you will get it down here. But right now I have pulled it out and I have it by itself. Because for this assignment, working with artboards and layers is going to be important. So I see that I have 4 artboards and I'm showing you a sample file that I've created. But some of you, if you're working by the book, you're going to have to take that artboard and put it together in one file. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But in this case, I have this first artboard. If I double click on the artboard, that one becomes the main one. And this is a student assignment, a student work on this assignment where she decided I'm going to take zoom out with zoom an option. Instead of going here and take the zoom tool, I push Z and that immediately shifts. So look, if I push V on my keyboard, I go to the black selection tool. If I push Z, I go to the magnifying glass. And once I have the magnifying glass, if I hold option, it becomes smaller. So this is a finished version of the Protect Your Life. We tend to say that this is a panda, but it's actually a fox, red fox, Japanese red fox with bamboo. And if you're following the book assignment, if you have this motif for your book, the most recent books have these, you're going to find that the sample file that you download from Parsons, the images have done. And what you have to do is work a little bit because you're not supposed to have too many skills now. So this is the finished one. And then I have another one that is the one that I have prepared for you to work on. That's why it's called Your Wildlife, isn't it? And what I'm doing is I'm giving you some basic artwork that is already in place and some elements that are out of the stage, and you're going to be moving them, scaling them, rotating them to create your own composition. So to help you, one problem that I see with Illustrator is that it tells you, okay, here you have your art, different artboards, but in the layers, things are not separated by artboard. Wouldn't it be nice that in layers they would say elements of artboard 1, elements, well, they still haven't got to that point. So what we do is try to organize it in layers. So your fruit basket sample is an assignment. Let's see if you see it. Yeah, it's a layer that if I take the visibility out, oh no, sorry, not the fruit basket, the Protect Your Life. Protect Your Life, there it is. All the elements, I've placed them there in that layer. And then the ones you protect our wildlife, this is yours, that is this one. And if I open it by rotating that thing, I can see all the elements. And I've taken the job of naming the layers. In the book assignment, things are not named. Why? I have to tell you, there's a tradition of people that have worked for a very long time in Illustrator that they don't look so much at layers, but layers are very, very important to organize things, not only in Illustrator, but also in Adobe Photoshop, also in InDesign, also in After Effects. When you're working on projects, you want to be able to find your artwork easily. So right now, I'm gonna unlock all the elements in the one that you're supposed to work with. So I can do things like I select this element because I'm selecting with my black tool. I select a complete sublayer. And when I select, I see that this is bamboo 2. Sorry, I wrote bamboo in Spanish, not in English. And I can put it here. Now, if I want it, it's in a certain shade of colors. Let me look very quickly. I had here the gradient open. Let me look a little bit at transparency. Yes. So these girls had worked with the transparency lower. That's why it looks like that. And if I push it up, actually, those are the original colors. Now, could I go in and decide that I want to change the position of those flowers? Yes. If I'm on this layer and I open, I see that there are several groups. So what if I choose this one? Look that I'm selecting, instead of going there and trying to select, I said, okay, select for me this sublayer or this sublayer or this sublayer. So once I'm in this position and I can say, okay, I want to select this one only. I could go with this one. Is it going to let me? No. So let's select from here. And then with that, I'm doing it with my keyboard because I'm scared of touching a certain point and screwing up that order. So I'm playing with the file. Some people have asked me, how much do I have to do? You just have to organize a new composition and you're going to decide how do you want that composition, because all those elements are selected. I see all the anchor points, all the possibility for rounding, everything. So to avoid further problems, I'm doing it by hand. Where am I going to place this guy? I'm going to place him there. And now I can take my normal tool and then click so I see how it works. Yeah, and it looks nice. And let me see if okay, this one. Okay, that one is okay there. I want to take this one and I want to move it a little bit here. This is a possibility. You can do whatever you want with the bamboo. To make your life easier, I also put here some leaves. Now, the file from the book is going to be organized different, but you know that what you have to do is the same idea, that you're playing with the composition in this image. Maybe I want to put here. And what if I want to change colors? Could I do that? Okay, so if I select these, let me show you a little bit more. Where is this element located? It's here. It's called leaves. I could say, well, I want to select only that one. And with that one selected, doesn't have a line. Let me for a second click out. No, it doesn't have a line property. Okay, so let me come back to the leaves and choose the leaf that I want. That is the other one, that one. And with that selected, I can come here and say, you know what? I'm going to change the color of this. I'm going to change maybe to a brighter green. Okay. And I'm going to want to have a little bit of a border color. I have a brighter green, so maybe a brighter green in dark. And I'm looking in what I'm doing, and I'm looking, what do I have? Okay, I have a color, and I have one. Let me look for a second, see if I like it. I like it with one, but if I want it a little bit thinner, I could just select it, and here go too small. Okay, now I also want to do something. I'm gonna select this leaf, and knowing that I have my layer selected, I'm gonna copy that. In a Mac is Command C, and in a PC would be Control C. I'm gonna copy with my shortcuts. Shortcuts are very important. And then I'm gonna paste. That is Command V or Control V. Okay, and there it is, a new path over there. And where do I have it? I have it here. And let's imagine that I want this guy here. I'm also going to get a little bit closer. I mean, what a funny shape with those points. They have not created this shape with a lot of care, but what can we do? And once I have this one, I'm also going to paste another one. Then I'm going to put it here. And it would be nice if they had a group of leaves that were all coming from the same point. So now I'm going to use the rotate tool. And when you select rotate, you see that in the center, there's like a little target. That is your axis of rotation. And sometimes rotating from the middle is not a good thing. So I'm going to move that axis of rotation here to the base. And now when I use the rotate tool, I would have that initial point of the leaf in place and the other one's there. So maybe this is going to go like that. Now I'm going to select my other leaf. And this one, maybe we're going to leave it like that over here. And I'm going to copy, paste the third one. I'm looking and it's pasting them all here at the top of the layer in the sub-layer menu. And we're also going to rotate this one. So back to the rotate tool. We want, careful with this business of moving the axis, because in other programs, once you move the axis of rotation, it would always be there. But in this one, if I rotate the leaf now and I go away, come back, maybe the center is going to be again in the center and I will have to place it again where I want the axis of rotation. So I'm going to rotate it the way that I want it is like that. And now I'm going to use the scale tool because I want it a little bit smaller. A ver, I'm losing my cursor. I'm going to hold shift because I want to decrease this in a proportional way. If I don't do that, it will make it thinner, or, you know, like it's like a free scale, and I want a proportional scale. So I'm holding shift, and there I have, my little one. It's trying to do rotate and scale at the same time. And now that I have it, you can come here to your place. And maybe it would be nicer that maybe this one would be a little bit of a darker green because behind. Okay, how are we doing? Good. So you can locate elements, but you can also scale them, skew them. Do you see that what my lovely student did is took one of those big shots of bamboo and then scale it down and skew it a little bit, and then created something that she wanted to put, like if the fox was holding it. And to give you a chance to be able to do this again, look what I did. All the fox is in one sublayer, but the front of this fox is in a different sublayer. You see, this one is here, this one is here. And actually this bamboo is in sandwich in between both layers. Why? Because if I move this element, I want to have the fox behind and the little mouthpiece in front, so it can be in between. And those are the situations in which understanding layers is fundamental, and organizing things in layers. You're creating an animal and sometimes, or creating any element, and sometimes you want something in between. And now you need to be very careful that things need to be in front of that and below that. And the element that you want in between has to be in between. Notice also that the eyes are in a different place, but I have the little circle of the eye and the background of the eye as different sublayers. I didn't group them on purpose because I wanted you to work through that. Look at this and look at this. It's not grouped either in the sample file from the book. So how do I group elements? Right now, one is here and the other one is here. Okay, it would be nicer if they were together. Then I will make sure that I'm not moving one without moving the other one. So how can I do this? I could come with the black selector and select like that. And then both of them are selected. Or I could come here and say, let me select one eye very nicely that I've labeled it, hold shift, and also select the other one. Do you guys see that I make the selection in the circle, but what shows up is the little square that is saying, oh yeah, I am selected all by myself. And I also wanted you to see that the sub-selection has a big square, and the layer has a minimum square, a smaller. Why? Because what this is telling you is, hey, there's something selected in my layer, but all your element is in a certain sublayer. So this means all the elements at this level have been selected. This means there's something inside me that has been selected. Okay, so once I have them both, now I'm going to do the shortcut for group. Could I do it from the menu? Yes, somewhere there has to be something for grouping, but I like working with shortcuts. So the shortcut for grouping is Command G. Now look what has happened. My sublayer called I write and the box for write are gone. They're now inside this group, and I have a group, and I can go inside and say this is going to be called group I write. Okay. Now let's select the other two. I select this one and I select the background. And if you want, I can try to right click. I'm in a laptop, so I don't really have a mouse. So in order to do a right click, in a Mac, you hold Control, and then the right menu shows up. It's like if you were right clicking on a mouse. And here I have it, group. Okay, Ping. So that's another way of creating group. Now I have the other group, and I just get in. Now, could I take out the thing group? I kind of like leaving the reference to group because then I know that inside there are more things. So group, and this is going to be I left. Okay. And now when I go with my black arrow, it's way easier to drag something and point it. I don't know if this is the exact same position. Let me see where's the position of the other one. No, it's closer here. Now, how do you move things? You can move them like that. And when you think, hey, I have a very small variation, you can move it with the arrows, isn't it? I select, and then with the arrows, my little arrows, cling, 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 I put it wherever I want. Okay. So we know already how to do basic rotation, how to move the axis, how to do basic scaling. Maybe I can do a little bit more experiment with the scaling, and we know how to group. And we know that even if you have a group, if I decided that I want to change something, I could select from here where I only have the small one. And with the arrows, I could move this little guy where I want it. He's going to be a little bit like, eh. Okay. So the little experiment with the scale. So you see that more things are possible. I created here for you a complete bamboo bar, and I've scaled it. Well, I think that in the book, it's like 3 segments and a little extra. I've scaled it so it's the same size than your artboard. Remind me that I have to talk about artboards. But what was I talking about? Like, can I work with these? Can I? You see, when I scale, if I don't hold shift, I can completely change the proportions of these. And then I could say, okay, let me move these. And I can go to free transform that allows me to do more things. And here I can have different types of operation. I could even begin creating, like if I wanted to have a little bit of perspective. You see, the free transform tool has sub tools that allows you to do very fun things. It even has this one that allows me to distort each one of them. Okay. So I know that I have a lot of students that are very new to working with software, and maybe they're romantically, emotionally attached to the idea of having a pen or a pencil and draw. Working with a computer has an amazing advantage, and that is that you do something, you make something, you create something, and you can still change it. You can still do little variations. You can still modify something that you have already drawn. And that's something that you cannot do when you're drawing in the real world. I mean, if you're working with charcoal, I don't know if you guys have done drawing with charcoal, you can still move things a little bit around. If you're working with acrylic painting, you can still go on top and paint. But this has the possibility of changing completely what you have done before. So let's imagine that I like this like that. For some reason, I like this weird perspective. This is what I like. But I don't like this end. This end is a bit weird. So remember my white selection tool, that is detail selection tool. I could select only this dot, and then I'm going to do it with my arrows. Place this wherever I want. So it's not so exaggerated because it was getting very, very, very deformed. Espera, vuelve para acá. Okay. And when I select this guy, don't select again with the black because it would select only a section or a small point. Select with the black that selects the whole piece. And we see that this guy is this bamboo stock that is here. And maybe now you want to do something with this bamboo. Now, if this bamboo is in the complete front, and that's not what I wanted, where are you guys? Here. Remember, I'm closing the eye, that you could change the order of the layer. And you could say, okay, I'm going to bring this guy, for example, behind the real guy, the figure. Why? Because I'm going to want this for some reason. I'm going to want it here, like that, or like here. I just want you to see it behind. But I want you to see that when we're moving, if you're moving on top or underneath another layer, you see a little line in between. If you see it selected and you drop it, what we're doing, did it do it? No, click. What happened now is that the bamboo became a sub-layer, a sub-element of these. And I don't think that necessarily you want the bamboo to be contained. And on top of that, it's on top of all the other layers. So that's not what we wanted. So what happens if you have done it already? How can you solve the problem? Well, just drag it out and say, I want there in between. No, I want you to be out. Okay, there you have it, out. So now the guy is really behind. Okay. So I've done a little bit of, playing with scaling and organizing, how do you move things from one layer to the other? Everybody understands what are the shortcuts for copy and paste. And I want to talk a little bit, about the other one. Many of you are going to have these those two motifs. And in this case, I also have, let me close this one that we're not going to work more. So I lock it so I don't have any problems. And here I have my finished basket that is placed in that artboard and the layer for the one that I'm creating. And some people have asked me, what do I do? Do I recreate the same fruit bowl that was in the book? Well, if you can create some variations, that would be lovely, no? And here, if you use this file, I've created those elements. Espera, I keep on losing my cursor because it's so, aquí está. And I've named them for you. Look, for example, that this one is made of several different shapes. And here I have, oh, mira, they're all together. Why? They're all together. Because something landed in the wrong way. This group of 3 leaves shouldn't have been there. Should have been there. And I place the 2 elements for the pair separate. So you will be forced to choose the second one. And then either with the cursor, when it's very small, I prefer to move things with this. Then I have my pair. Okay. And maybe I want to use these and I want to have these here, just because, I feel like copying a little bit that pair that looks very cute. And once I have it, where did I have this one? This one is over here. I'm going to put it straight ahead on top. Why? Because my plan is to take these and take the pair, select everything, group it. Why do I want to group it? Because now it's very easy to go around with a pair. Now you see that the pair is actually in front of the ball. Here's the ball. And that might not be the best thing ever. We need the ball to be in front. Didn't think about that. Venga, let's put the ball right underneath the text. Now, do you want to scale the text? You can scale it. Do you want to change the color of the text? You can do it. So variations, all that you want. So here I will have a prayer and I can place my apple. I can have fruits that are behind, or I can have fruits. Where are you, fruit? Little apple in front. Okay, maybe this is a little bit too much rotation for a guy that is standing by itself. So maybe I'm going to leave it only like that. And espera, I'm working with this thing being so small that we don't see anything. Maybe I want it here. It looks like it's going to fall any second. So in this case, maybe what I need is to open my fruit bowl that I know that the line is here. Let me select this lovely line. Okay. Then I could scale it, or I could select just one point. You see that the one that I've selected is blue and the other one is white. And with the arrow, so we're going to have a little bit of a wider base. because we want to be able to place more fruits in the front. Okay, I also made a little lemon very quickly for you guys. I actually use the pen tool to create the lemon. It's a very basic lemon, but it's going to work for here. Where are you, lemon? Here. You are down there, and I wanted you to be in the front. So there you go. Move in front. A ver, no, I didn't want them together. I wanted lemon to be by itself and fruit to be by itself. So I have lemon selected. Good. There we go. And lemon, for example, is going to be here. Now, you see that my student created this interesting like grape situation with even little tiny things that are simulating the vines of the grape. All those things. My student also decided to create strawberries. I thought that it was amazing challenge to create strawberries when you're so early working with shapes. You don't have to go that far. But there's one thing that I want to explain to you, that is how to get this half orange. This is something that is a little bit more advanced, but the book is actually doing it. And I want you to just to explain it to you for if you want to do something like that. We're going to be applying a clipping path. That means that there's a shape that is defining the area where another shape is showing. It's a little bit like using a mask, like having cookie dough and coming with a cookie cutter and say, I only want my cookie in this shape. Okay, so how do we do that? I've placed for you the half orange, that is this fellow, on a sub layer in front, and underneath I have the group that is this lovely artwork that resembles the inside of the orange. And I want to have half an orange, not the complete orange. So the shape that I want to cut with is the shape, the half circle of the orange. That one, I place it in front. And the one that I want to limit, cut, mask, is the shape of the lemon. That one, I have it underneath. I need to select both at the same time. I have one, I hold shift, and I have the other one. So now they're both, but they're in the wrong position. Wait a second. No. I have the white arrow, and then I'm selecting the sub thing. No. Select the whole thing and place it where I'm going to want. That is something like that. Something like that? Yes. I'm trying to have the same amount of rim. Okay. So I have this one and I have this one. I have both at the same time. And now I'm going to go, I think that is object, clipping path, make. And now the one on top becomes the shape that defines what we are seeing, and the one underneath gives the feeling. And what you get is your half orange. And I'm not seeing the other one. That is not very good. You know, like I want to see the rim also. Okay. Orange. Let me go back. I'm going to take, I'm undoing. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this one and copy it also. I'm going to take both and do the object, clipping path, make. The other one disappears, but no, there's no problem because I am going to paste another shape. Where did I put it? Half orange, come back here, there. And now I'm going to put it right behind. Okay, now it looks good. I have my clipping group and I have my half orange. I could even group it together, but I'm going to leave it like that so you can see it. Remember, if I want to group it, all I have to do is select all those things and Command G. And now I have a very nice half orange that I can work in different places. Okay, now in this file, you have to create a new artboard. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. When you first create a file, you can define the amount of artboards that you want. You can create them all the same, or you can create them on different sizes. But there's a tool that I like even more, because in advance, you might say, how big do I want this artboard? How many pixels? I don't know right now. I just know that I want 4. So I really like this tool. Do you see that it's like a little, like a little square? This is the artboard tool. And this artboard right now is selecting my current artboard. That is the very nice thing. But I can go ahead and draw an artboard with no problem. New artboard. And here you have new artboard. Well, it's called artboard 6. And if I double click, I go straight ahead there. Let me, since you have to do a final panel with free drawing, let's call it like that. So I'm still in that one. I'm going to select Z and then option to make it a little bit smaller, and you can see it. And what are the advantages of being able to make an artboard? First, that at any point you can select, you click on an artboard that already exists and is selected. And if suddenly you decide, hey, I want this thing to have different dimensions, you could change it. Now you can change it like that, you know, like kind of like crappy, messy by eye, or with the artboard selected, you can come here and say, hey, what is the width and the height that I want for this artboard? Right now it's in inches. Inches is a unit of measures that is good if you're going to print, because pages are measured in inches. But if you're working on a screen, we don't need inches, we need pixels. So I could change in preferences that I want to work with pixels, or I could come here and say, hey, instead of that, I want these in pixels. Click. Oh, it was a very small artboard because that's not such a big size, and look how it created. Okay, so I could create artboards like that. Let me come back to my artboard tool, select, and that's not true. That's not the amount of pixels. Let me try again. Pixels. Oh, it keeps on thinking that is 16 inches. That is that. Okay, I'm going to play this one like that. Now, one last thing that I want to tell you. So you can modify artboards by just choosing a certain artboard and changing the size. Oh, because I have locked elements that are locked when I'm selecting is like, hello, be careful. Something else that it's important is that when you have the artboard selected, right here in properties, it tells you, hey, when I move the artboard with the artwork, I want to move the artboard also. That would make that when I do this, I'm moving everything. But it is possible that I want to move the artboard and not the content. Maybe because suddenly I want an artboard that contains more stuff, or for different reasons. So then I would unclick that. And that means very dangerous that I move these, but I'm not moving the artboard. Now, what is the meaning of this business of artboards? Because it can be confusing. Here I have an artboard placed in a really weird place. And what used to be my artwork is not there anymore. And I have kind of chunks of other artboards. The problem is if I try to export for web or to print this artboard, the content is going to be this, what you see, and that's a little bit dangerous. So meanwhile, I'm in the file, I don't care. I can be putting artwork, whatever I want. But when I export out, then is when I have to be very careful of what is the content of my artboard. So I could Command Z and go back, but you know, I like the risky life. So I'm trying to come back by myself to the same position. Okay, so last thing that I want to tell you, what happens if you have been working on a, do I have somebody that has, yes, you have been working on a different file because you have the different files from the book, and suddenly you need to put it all together in the same file. So you need to take artboards and move them to another file. How would you do that? Well, let's imagine that I'm going to be, let me take the visibility out of here, out of there, and see what is this. Now I kind of like the other one better. Venga. Let's imagine that I'm going to try, well, let's put everything. Venga. Sorry. I can see both, and I'm going to select these and select these and select this. Oh, it's locked. So meanwhile, something is locked, it doesn't want to be selected. Now is everything selected. Could I copy and paste in the other file? Yes, but then I've lost all the information about the layers. Let me try. Command C. Then I go back to my first sample file. To make sure that I don't create a gigantic mess, I first create a new layer. And with that layer, I make sure that all my other layers are locked. And I come here and I do paste. And where is what I've pasted? Oh no, it hasn't pasted really. ¿Por qué? Maybe I didn't copy right. Come here, select this, shape, select this, everything. Copy. New layer, paste. There it is. So I have my artwork, yes. Let me come back to my V. So before I deselect, and let me put them here. Let's imagine that this is what I'm trying to transfer. This is lovely, but I have everything in one layer. So sometimes that can be a problem. So what can I do so elements arrived in their own layers without losing that information? Now, I like a lot that still has the names of the sub layers that I named. But let's imagine that that's not my goal. So I'm going to select this layer and send it to the trash. Yes, I'm going to come back to the previous file. No, this one, no. This one with my two layers. And then I'm going to right click. We call this a hamburger icon. I gave you a little tutorial, little page on how to do this. So if I'm in layers, this is the hamburger icon for layers. Let me put it a bit lower. So I'm going to open that. How do I open it? Oh, mira, the normal click. I thought I had to right click, the normal click. And I'm going to come here and say, release to layers, release to layers. This is not. Oh, paste remember layer. So it's saying, if you copy, please remember the things that are in different layers. If I wanted, I could put everything in one. That's if I also activate collecting new layer, but I'm not going to do that. So with that done, I'm going to copy. And I'm going to see if I've done it right. Come back here, create a new layer with layer selected, paste, and here it comes. The work is here, but it's still maintaining the two layers. I'm for some reason, I'm in a crop for cutting. That's not what I want. I want to move all my content here with my two layers. Okay, so now I have this new, you have to double click on the number of here, this artwork. Let's imagine that this is the result of making the assignment. And I have it with its original layers. I think that I have covered everything that I wanted to say. Now, if somebody gets into so much trouble that they're incapable of moving things from one file to another one, for now, you could send me 2 files. For those of you that are going to be working with this sample file, you have it easy because you already have the file that has the artboards. The only thing you have to do is create that 5th artboard and create some kind of free drawing. Now, would this qualify as something valid for the free drawing? Not so much, because what I want you to do in this free drawing is to work with shapes. It doesn't have to be something realistic, but I want you to have more overlapping elements and elements that are placed as a background. How do you, if you want to have a plain color as a background, how do you do that? Let's imagine that I'm here in the green shapes and I say, I want to have a color background. So I'm going to come here and take the rectangle tool. Not that I like this color, is a little bit exaggerated. I want something more subtle as a background, maybe like that. And I want to create a rectangle. Some people ask me, can I assign a background color just to the complete artboard? No, you cannot. You need to have a shape that has that color. Okay. I sometimes get very annoyed when I don't place things in the right place. You see, like this is slightly off. And if you try to scale, it would scale from the center. So then this one, let me show you what I mean. I try to scale this, and now I might place that in the right place, but the other one is not. It's a pain, isn't it? So what do I do personally? I say this point, shift, this point, and now that I have it by hand, bling, bling, to its place. And now it looks like I have a little white edge there. This point, shift, this point, clink, clink. I could be more structured, more mathematical, and just write down the size of the artboard, and then having my rectangle selected, come here and make this one exactly the same size. That also works, isn't it? But we artists tend to be a little bit crappy in those things. Now, why have I lost so many elements? Because this rectangle now is in front of all the other elements in the sublayer. So I'm going to grab it and pull it at the bottom. And now I can see all my elements. I could also create something like a mountain or a shape or something behind. Do you want me to try to do it very quickly? So what if I come back to my famous pen tool that my students tend to not like at all, but I love? So let's see how this is going to be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have the snapping on. So when I try to go to the corner, clink, it magnetizes to the perfect corner. And look that when I come back to the first point, it wants to close the shape. The only thing is that this shape is the same color than the one beneath, this one, that the one behind. Let me put it here. And with the shape selected, we're going to come here and we're going to select another color like that one. Let's see if this one works. Okay. Now, I have to tell that I think that it was Andrew, the one that did it. No, it was Sean. He discovered something that I had not seen. This is new in Illustrator, and I really like it. So let me put my image here on top of the artboards. And here in this panel, I have the shape selected. I have, looks like 3 little lines. I have a stroke, gradients, and the transparency. The transparency is nice when you want to have something that is semi-transparent and it blends a little bit with whatever is behind. But in the gradient tool, that is something that we're going to be using later. We have gradients that are linear. It just changed to those random colors. Changes that are gradient. You have this amazing new tool that is called the freeform. I think it's called freeform gradient. Yes. And it comes with colors. It's something spectacular. Because you don't have to have all the colors like that. That is a linear gradient, or like that. That is a radial. You can have different colors. And all you have to do is double click and say, what is the color that you want here? And then click that one. I kind of like that one, this one, and you can change position, and you can also change the area of influence. So this, until very recently, this one is a little bit stronger, so maybe I should have it now. Ooh, if I pull it out, it disappears. So this is a new tool. I'm super excited. We used to be able to create this with something called the mesh, the gradient mesh. And the mesh, we're going to see it. I think that is week 6 or 7. It's an amazing tool. But this allows you to very easily, by just selecting a shape and going to gradient and choosing these, to create a complex gradient with different colors that blend. I mean, it's a very easy and very apparent tool. We're going to look at it more in detail when we work with gradients, but I think that this is an amazing tool. Now, warning, for those of you that are coming from traditional drawing, still with the pencil and the pen, and are not thinking about file size. The amount of points that you have in a file makes the file bigger. When you have a gradient, that takes more file space and more rendering effort than just a flat color. And this one that has areas of influence, it has even more. So if you made an image that was all made with freeform gradients or several, take into account that this file is going to be very big and that the redrawing is going to take a little bit of time. So it's time to begin thinking that, yes, we're making beautiful images, but those are computer files and take space on the hard drive and take effort to do the display and the calculation of all the elements, and that you have to be a little bit careful. Having a couple of layers, no big deal, but you have to begin understanding when you have a lot of polygons, a lot of lines and points, there's a lot of effort for the computer to be able to render that. So I leave you with that. The new freeform gradient tool, amazing. Do you have to use it? No, I'm showing it. Do you have to use a clipping path? No, but I'm just showing you possibilities. Okay, so this is the video for today. I don't want to make it too long, so you all watch it. Thank you.